Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dish.
Wow.
This is our 10th episode. We are so excited.
Wow.
Well, you are.
Well, I thought that's why we were all dressed like hot tamales.
No, we for a holiday.
Oh! Ho, 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 ho.
And hello to you too. But anyway, if you guys didn't catch Oprah last week, she did a show like years ago, and she went to this town where this one gay guy, he contracted AIDS, and he ended up going to a public pool, and a lot of people, they were very upset, and they didn't accept him in that community, and they wanted him out of that community. They hated him. So she went back to that town like 20-some years later to see if those people still felt the same way about this young man. During that episode last Friday, we found out that some people, they came to the conclusion that, they were a little harsh, and they think that fear took over, which led us to talk about, have things really changed in the community and the way that we're perceived in the heterosexual community? So have they changed, or are things pretty much still the same? What do you guys think?
I think it's changed because, as time progresses, education comes into par, people's experiences and, how they deal with different things opposed to, I think, the generational gap. So I do think things have changed.
In that episode, I thought it was interesting that when she originally was there in the city, it was 1987, and she went back to the same city and the same Coliseum that she had the original show. And there was one guy in particular, I can't really remember his name, that really spoke out very vigilantly about the young man coming to the town and stepping into the pool, and there was an exchange between him and a doctor, and the doctor was explaining to him how you really couldn't get AIDS just by casual contact, because everything started as a result of him getting into a public pool, and that's what created the stir. And the gentleman actually said, the doctor said to him that you're so angry because you're afraid. And it came out in the show, the news show, and Oprah said that that was a direct attack against his pride. So that's why he was so vigilant and angry and really lashed out towards him, because it kind of attacked his pride, him saying that he was angry. But I think that he was afraid. But I think that that would be safe to say, especially back in 1987, which was the beginning of the whole AIDS epidemic. Lots of people were afraid. Yeah. So I don't think that that was so far from the truth for him to say, to make a comment like that.
But I think even though, he made those statements this go-round when she went back last week, she asked if he, felt that he owed the family an apology for the way that he reacted and the statements that he had made. And he never did answer that question. He talked around it, but he never answered that question, and he never apologized to the family, which led me to believe, did he really, second think what he did on that show, or those were still his true feelings and how he felt. And
I had the same thought, and I really felt that he still felt much the same way that he did, over 25 years ago. It's based on that. Like you said, he never did apologize, and he kind of danced around the issue and said that, I think he said something to the effect of that, I wish I had handled myself differently. He didn't even apologize for saying what he said, to handle yourself differently. So that led me to believe that he would have still said the same thing. Perhaps he just wouldn't have said it as, with as much hostility,
I think probably his core beliefs of what he was taught or how he was raised is probably what made him so indecisive to either want to say if he was in the wrong, or, you know what I'm saying? Because just like when you said, if you are speaking of somebody's manhood,
right,
and their pride is attacked, I know for males, that's something that they probably don't, that's one of the things that they really cherish, and, it's almost like no one can take your manhood unless you give it to them. Like no one can take your virginity unless you give it to them. And I think that's something, when it's attacked, that's something that he was probably trying to protect, because that's probably how he was taught.
But I think that with the new show, with her going back, what was brought out was that, this was a town that, had hatred towards homosexuality. They didn't believe in it at all, and they didn't support it, in no way, no form, no fashion. However, during the taping of this show, a lot of people that would have spoke up for homosexuality, they did not. And the reason they say they did not was because everybody that was so angry about the situation, they were so vocal about their anger until it just silenced them. They were scared to get up and speak, you know, although they were for it and they thought that the town was doing him a disservice. They said that because of all the anger that was in the room, you know, they were scared to speak.
Right. But how he ended up back there, he was in Dallas. I guess he was originally from there. He was in Dallas. And it started with him needing care, and they felt that he should be around his family to get the care that he needed. So that's how it ended up with him being in that town. And he wouldn't even apologize to the family, even to, you know, from the guy passed and all this type of stuff. And the things he was saying, like grouping all gay people into one category. And it was you people, like we shouldn't exist.
I still think, like Raquel said, that's based on his core beliefs. And I think that the change that you all are speaking on that happened the years later, because I didn't even see the new show, I saw the original show. But the change, just like would change anything to me, on mass, it's changes because those powers that be have phased out. And those that came in over the transition in the 25 years, their views are not the same as yours. You get what I'm saying? So those people who were silenced then may have actually been more in contact with other openly gay people are coming, and so their views changed, opposed to those other people whose core beliefs stayed the same. So that's why he still is as stubborn as he was 25 years later. Back then, Obama couldn't have become president.
Right.
But you understand, because of the time and the transition, and our youth have been put more into power, and their views are not, you know, they're not as stubborn or like boxed off in their thought process like those who were before them. Anything is possible.
Right.
Because they don't take the, like, they're actually seeing more interracial couples,
right.
you know,
right.
more openly gay accepted friends. I mean, like, when I see friends, groups of friends, it's like a whole collage of different people that exist. Whereas at one point, you just saw
everybody looking alike.
Right. Well, and also in that city, it was a very small city in Virginia. So again, like you said, their awareness to different lifestyles was probably very limited. And now, it being 2011, when the show was taped, was probably, I think it was a year or so ago that it was actually, even the new show was done. It was 2009, 2010. People's, you know, education level towards different lifestyles has really grown too. People have had more contact with it. They probably had people in their families since then who have come out to be gay, I'm sure, in a lot of instances.
And you have to understand too, older generations and the generations that came before us, a lot of times with different issues that they're not knowledgeable of, and if they do find out about different things that is not the norm to them, they probably won't deal with those issues. And when they don't deal with those issues, like Nisha said, it's going to be an ongoing thing because that's something that they are not adapted to because it's not exposed to them on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
Well, with the new show, two people that she brought back that I found was very interesting and was enlightened to the show was one young lady. She was in high school. She was like 16.
Yeah.
And then she said that she remembered it so vividly just being there. And she said she wanted to say something and then she just couldn't because she was so young. But now that she's like, it's like years later, she even turned to the guy who was so hostile during the audience. She said, you know, I felt that it was just so wrong. You were just so mean then. And then it's just like, you know, but I couldn't say nothing because I was in high school at the time. And then it's just like, I felt like you would have attacked me. She said, but I felt that you were so wrong. And then it's just because the anger that you harbored, and you know, the people who were so angry, she said, it just made someone like me who felt like he was being, you know, dealt with in a wrong way. It just silenced me. I couldn't say nothing. And also there was another young man who was young at the time. And she brought him back, and he just so happened that he left the town, and he came back, you know, but he is now HIV positive. And that was the young man that Oprah said wrote her and told her, you know, you did a show years ago about such. You need to do a recap of that show. Come back and see how people feel, you know, years later. And she said, you know, although I was thinking I was going to do that anyway, I just want to let you know that, you know, I was already thinking about that.
But the man that was hostile didn't live in that town. He actually drove to that town to voice his opinion the first time Oprah came. He didn't actually live in whatever the town was. He actually drove out of the way to come.
Because he heard she was going to be there.
Right.
Well, and I do think, though, looking back on our main topic, too, that I think that times have changed, you know, tremendously based on, like you say, awareness. And I can even speak for my own family and parents with me being gay. It opened my parents' eyes to, because neither my mother or my father had gay friends at all, or at least that they knew of growing up or even into adulthood. So it wasn't until, you know, the introduction into my lifestyle and my friends that they even saw really what the gay lifestyle was all about, you know. And I can remember a conversation with my father where he even said, you know, there was a time when, you know, I didn't really care too much for gay people. He said, but now being around you and your friends, you know, I see that, you know, I was kind of crazy to think the way that I thought in the past, because it's really, you know, no difference. You know, you're my son, I love you, you have cool friends, you know, I don't mind hanging out with y'all or doing what y'all do or being around.
You don't mind doing what we do?
You know, hanging out with us, going places.
Oh, you thought about doing drag?
I was Pam's stepmother.
Watch it.
What were you going to say about the young man that lived in the town?
Did he actually get a chance to actually express was the treatment to him different when he came? Or
When he came back?
When he came back.
Oh, he said it was better, but they still have a long way to go. And he said he ended up moving. He ended up leaving.
Right.
Really, really smart.
Because I always want to know. I want to know, like in regards to, because I have issues with that within the gay community, with the treatment of people who you found that they were open, you know, like they were gay or have been infected. I don't even like the way the treatment is, how we are with one another. So it's just odd in the. I'm trying to see, has it actually changed from when, you know, the epidemic first hit? Because, you know, you would hear people make the different comments, the negative comments, or you still hear different people saying, "Oh, child, don't fool with him because this and another." They say this and another, don't fool with him because this and another, which actually still causes people to not, you know, like
shun certain individuals.
You know, shun certain individuals, and it doesn't, I think, work towards empowering in regards to, like, in order to face, you know, fight the epidemic, you've got to make sure that people are conscious and are able to say, you know, I like your blah, but I am infected. You get what I'm saying? But now, because of the way they've been shunned and treated, they hold this in. You understand what I'm saying? And then now the epidemic continues to spread.
Even with the doctor, he said what he said back then, he still stand by it today. And he was saying that back then it was a death sentence when you got it. But now he's saying they have so much medication out there and all that type of stuff so you can live with it. But the guy wasn't hearing that either.
Yeah, because they said that the life expectancy,
right,
you know, now the life expectancy rate has like tripled or quadrupled since, you know,
he said
when
you
it
live
first
and you
came
die
out.
with natural causes opposed to.
Well, I think it's a very personal thing, I think, for a person to come out and to, you know, disclose something like that. But I will say, as an individual, I always adopted the attitude towards that it could be any one of us. So you are responsible for yourself. So, and, you know, with the numbers, the statistics, they are pretty high. So I'm sure at some point, all of us have been with someone in one way or another who is. So, you know, for me, the stigma has never really been there. And I've always tried to, and always have adapted, I think, a pretty realistic approach to it. And I remember even talking to my mother about it one time. She said that, you know, it's anyone who has sex basically is a candidate for it. You know, gay, straight, black, or white. Because it only takes one time with one person.
Well, we could go on and on with this discussion, you know, have things changed or are things pretty much the same. But I think the bottom line is choose your friends wisely. Because in choosing your friends wisely, you'll know whether or not you can disclose certain information to those friends. And, you know, regardless of how times are, you know, you are a better judge of who your friends are and what you can disclose to your friends. So we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, I know y'all watching these cooks in the back. Yes, we have arrived, honey. We have cooks and chefs and things, baby. That is Micah and Jamil, and they are preparing the dish. So when we come back, we're going to talk about a surprise topic that I have for them. They don't even know what it is.